Bangalore Mysore Infrastructure Corridor Area Planning Authority HC quashes criminal proceedings against three retired IAS officers. Decarbonization of a building and construction sector imperative to achieve India's net zero target. Developers need solutions that can be deployed cost effectively and it at scale and speed. There is a lot of commercial pressure on them, says Satish Kumar. Niti Aayog report released earlier this year identified power industries about hand building as the four major sectors in India contributing to carbon emissions. Satish Kumar, let's read. Decarbonization Charter calls for concerted efforts from construction industry. The event supported by the Swiss Agency for Development and cooperation was 21 signatories from Bengaluru signing charter. Guru Prakash Sastry highlighted the journey of the organization towards net zero status. Once upon a time in India, a blast from the first, a little bit of word jazz and some progressive rock will have the city growing this weekend. Expanding origins. An evening of music. Prague encounters FT, the pulse theory, geometry, box space remedy. An intersectional film infused with hope. High Court says stays CID proceedings against TDP chief till September 18. The directive comes in response to a petition filed by former Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu seeking quashing of the FIR registered against him and the remand order issued by the Vijayawada CB court on September 10. 93-year-old Kerala activist Gro Vasu acquitted. The Judicial First Class Magistrate Court at Kunnamangalam acquitted human rights activist A. Vasu, popularly known as Gro Vasu, due to lack of evidence against him on Wednesday. Studying ecological dynamics of Nipah virus, experts to government. In INCO IS to stimulate earthquakes to test tsunami preparedness. KCR backstabbed Telangana youth, says state BJP president. UDF locks arms with LDF over ineffective MP's charge. And Hindutva activist Chaitra Kundapura remanded in a 10-day police custody. A mockery of pedagogic ethics, the breaking of a bond. Let's read this editorial page. Imagine a teacher who asks the classmates of her 7-year-old student to slap him one by one. Those who do so softly are asked to eat the boy hard. One is naturally curious to know where the teacher was trained and who appointed her as a teacher. The short answer is that the teacher is an educational entrepreneur like tens of thousands of others. She runs her own private school in a village of Uttar Pradesh like thousands of other schools like us. It is recognized by the government. For now, it has been closed down because the incident caused a stir and perhaps some embarrassment. Gaps in teaching training. News from our schools regularly reminds us that the momentum generated by the Right to Education Act that was enacted over a decade ago has subsided. The RTE had laid down indicators of quality, and for a while, an attempt was made in a few states to use RTE compliance criteria for both government and private schools. COVID 19 was not the only factor responsible for the loss of momentum in taking the RTE seriously. Parallel sphere of neglect surfaced in the crucial sector of teacher training. Since the 1990s, teacher training has become a beehive of small time entrepreneurs. The regulatory structure of the National Council for Teacher Education has not been able to enforce its meticulously worked out norms. In 2008, the Supreme Court of India appointed a commission under the late Justice J.S. Verma to examine the various elements of teacher training. His magnificent magnificent report submitted in 2012 offered some hope that the training of teachers would gain status and attention. But that hope proved short lived. Improvement of quality by the inspection Raj proved an illusion. Last month, the Supreme Court passed its verdict in a case concerned with teacher training at the primary level. The court said that the NCT has not applied its mind while allowing Bachelor of Education degree holders to teach at the primary level. B.Ed is traditionally associated with secondary education. The Muzaffarnagar story, where the teacher asked students to slap another student, gains further poignancy because the child who was victimized by his teacher is a Muslim. According to reports, rural leaders, some well known as former leaders, have advised the boys' parents to avoid pursuing the case. Otherwise, these leaders feel the episode will vitiate communal relations. The district saw reports a few years ago. The teacher Arshad reportedly saw no reason to be contrite as she considers it a job to control children in order to tackle them. She thought the episode was being blown out of proportion. What are these proportions? One might ask. Chattopadhyay's report. One of the many reports written since India's independence tried to spell out what might constitute appropriate professional conduct by adults who serve as teachers. This report is known as the Teacher Commission Report. It was chaired by D.P. Chattopadhyaya. He was a philosopher, and his commission included some of the best minds available to reflect on teaching. The report showed how far school teaching in India was from standards and ethics that one might regard as professional. Many decades have passed since the report was submitted, and hardly anyone reads it now. A summary of recommendations is available on the internet for the benefit of students facing an examination such as B.Ed without attending classes. It is hardly cynical to say that Chattopadhyay's recommendations are quite irrelevant. The new ethos of education, and not just in UP, promotes easy instrumentality and never reflection or introspection. We cannot expect the teacher who asked our students to slap the 7-year-old Muslim boy to reflect for a moment on her conduct. The Chattopadhyaya report had advocated a well-read, thoughtful teacher who is conscious of her decisions and actions that we found a limited traction in the Indian system, especially in the bureaucracy governing it. It continued to regard the teacher as a minor functionary. During the 1990s, the compulsions of structural adjustment led to the loss of what little dignity teachers of small children had enjoyed. North Indian states had no problem opting to recruit teachers en masse on contractual or ad hoc basis under euphemistic titles. Reckless privatization implied that market laws should prevail in deciding emoluments. Enrollment grew, but there was no lasting improvement in working conditions under the influence of the global policy advisor James Tooley. Low budget private schools multiplied, enabling state governments to merge their own smaller schools in the name of rationalization. The shattering of a bond. So here we are with a teacher depending on a unique style of meting out a corporal punishment to a boy. All familiar bells are ringing dutifully to remind us that human rights, minority rights, and child rights still matter in Uttar Pradesh. No resonating sound, let alone an outcry, can be heard rising from the community of teachers. The reason is simple: there is no such a thing as a community of school teachers. Teachers' Day, September 5, the birth date of Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, former President of India and statesman, ought to have reminded us that the nation gains little when it enfeebles the school teacher's voice, individual and collective. It is not a fantasy that Dr. Vishnu Radhakrishnan would have entertained. He taught in benign times when institutions of higher learning enjoyed a modicum of freedom, and teachers emerged from training colleges with a thought or two about how to look after children. Many still have that ability, and their heads with hang with exhaustion when they read about the Muzaffarnagar incident. The administrative machinery in UP has shut down the school. The teacher also, the school had made a mockery of pedagogic ethics. The child who suffered her wild imagination will suffer the imprint of this experience by separately assigning a day for teachers and another one for another children. We seem to have forgotten that the two form a bond. No worthwhile education can take place when the bond breaks. The Muzaffarnagar teacher is reportedly not even sorry that she shattered the bond so wantonly. For her, the great advances of her child's psychology never took place, nor would she care if told that Rabindranath Tagore and Gijubai Badeka, who created an Indian version of the Montessorian approach, had pleaded for adult kindness towards children. Let's read this editorial. Let's go to the next. Unified approach. An integrated approach to health can prevent zoonotic spillover. The complex path to biofuel sustainability. Ramya Natarajan was written by Ramya Natarajan. So let's read this article. Until few years ago, working on biofuels called for constant justification in the face of electric vehicles taking over the world today. While there is no doubt that EV adoption has been amplified over the years, there is a growing awareness of the fact that no decarbonization strategy is trade off free. For instance, for a transition to EVs, existing internal combustion engine vehicles and the supporting infrastructure need to be replaced entirely, which is capital intensive. Further, the required batteries and critical minerals used in them need to be imported, adding to environmental concerns on how these minerals are mined. Among other issues, biofuels, on the other hand, can be used in existing ICE engines and infrastructure with little to no modifications depending on the blending rates and offer import independence. However, biofuel is a blanket term that includes both sustainable and unsustainable fuels, and an understanding of their difference will be essential to drive effective decarbonization action. The challenges in India. In India, biofuel is synonymous with first generation ethanol, which is primarily sourced from food crops. The policy target in India of achieving 20% ethanol and blending with petrol by 2025 to 26 is expected to be met almost entirely by IG ethanol made from sugar cane and food grains. Second generation 2G ethanol, which is made from crop wastes and residues, is unlikely to contribute much to achieving this target due to several challenges related to feedstock, supply chain, and scaling up. The groundwater depletion implications of growing sugarcane are well known, but the food security implications of groundwater depletion and of using food grains for ethanol production and harder to imagine because India is currently a surplus food producer. But there are several reasons why diverting the surplus produce towards energy or specifically growing a crop for energy may not be a sustainable strategy. First, India's crop yields have already stagnated, and global warming is expected to reduce yields, which means that the same area under cultivation, arable land, will produce less with time but will need to suffice for a growing population. So, our strategy to meet blending targets cannot depend on surplus crop production. Second, a recent study led by the University of Michigan projected that the rates of groundwater depletion could triple during 2040 to 81 compared with the current rate. This is again attributable to temperature rise and the resultant increase in crop water requirements. With such limited resources, be it groundwater or arable land, food production should be prioritized over fuel. Third, the agricultural sector is one of the hardest to abate in terms of direct greenhouse gas emissions. So, increasing GHG emissions from the sector for motor fuel production in order to decrease GHG emissions from the transport sector is an unnecessary balancing loop that would achieve little net benefit. In India, the ethanol blending policy has been a good strategy to deal with the surplus sugar production. Another good strategy to deal with the surplus sugar production would be to reduce surplus sugarcane cultivation. Increasing farmer income is often waved as a white flag in response to this argument. But sugarcane being a remunerative crop has more to do with the government intervention than anything else. This means that any unassuming crop could be made as remunerative as sugarcane if so desired. Sustainable biofuels are produced from crop residues and other waste with low water and GHG footprints. The Global Biofuels Alliance that was formed at the G20 summit in New Delhi last week as is expected to strengthen the development of sustainable biofuels. In addition to promoting ethanol uptake, it is therefore a historic moment for India, demonstrating its commitment to climate action with global cooperation. Sustainable biomass use. The Energy Transition Commission, in its report on bio resources within a net zero emissions economy, recommended that biomass should be prioritized for use in sectors where there are limited low carbon alternatives. Long haul aviation and road freight segments wherein complete electrification might take longer to achieve could make the cut, whereas petrol vehicles for which ethanol blending is currently being targeted which would probably not. According to the International Energy Agency, to achieve achieve net zero emissions by 2050 globally, sustainable biofuel production needs to triple by 2030 to fuel modes that have few other mitigation options. Although IG ethanol is unlikely to fit the bill, 2G ethanol could be counted as a sustainable fuel, especially if the production is decentralized. That is, crop residues do not have to be transported large distances to a central manufacturing plant. But this might affect achieving economies of a scale for the G2G plant. Balancing economies of scale with the energy needs and cost of biomass collection and transport across large distances is a major challenge. The Global Biofuels Alliance could help drive innovation and technology development in establishing an efficient biomass supply chain and smaller scale decentralized biofuel production units. Achieving true sustainability is complex, especially with respect to biofuels. Therefore, any strategy should be carefully examined in the context of the larger ecosystem to avoid unintended negative consequences. This is about the biofuel. Little sucker and any failure to anchor inflation will add to the risks to growth. Protecting food plains is the need of the hour. Friends with benefits in Karnataka. For JDS, an alliance with the BJP could be valuable now, but a problem later. The deadliest and strongest earthquakes in recorded history. The Bhuj earthquake was the deadliest in India, while the 1941 quake in Andaman and the 1897 quake in Assam were the strongest, devastating tremors. Two army officers, one JA and K police DYSP killed in Anantnag encounter. Security forces could not evacuate the injured personnel immediately from the spot as they were in the firing range of the militants. Second, militants killed in Rajouri gunfight. Work-like stores, including medicines with park markings, recovered. Family members of DYSP mined but during his funeral procession on Wednesday. Policeman shot dead while on duty in Manipur. Special session to debate a parliamentary journey. SC declines plea to lift firecracker ban in Delhi. SC wants a manual ready for police and briefing media. IAF chief takes delivery of first C-295 transport aircraft in Spain. Rail stations closed for business line celebration corporate quiz 2023. We don't recognize buffer zones in Manipur. Transfer of personal data under UN treaty will be under domestic laws. And yeah, Cabinet BJP passed resolutions lauding PM over G20 summit. Union Cabinet says the Indian G20 presidency was truly people-centric and emerged as a national endeavor. BJP's two-page resolution says that G20 summit stands as a monumental chapter in the country's diplomatic annals. Assam CM helped wives firm get 10 crore subsidy. Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma helped a firm associated with his wife secure a subsidy of 10 crore under a central project of the Ministry of Food Processing Industries. The Congress has alleged are central government schemes meant to enrich BJP. Congress MP Gaurav Gogoi asked in the stand post exposed as Dr. Sharma said, neither his wife nor the firms as she is associated with had ever received any financial subsidies from the center. 75 lakh more consumers to get LPG connections. India parties to hold a joint rally in Bhopal. Start process for determining seat sharing. India Russia discuss ways of boosting maritime ties. RSS top brass to brainstorm key issues at Pune meeting. BJP developing a digital Modi story with anecdotes and personal narratives. Sickle cell patients an elusive disability certificate. West Bengal Chief Minister meets Sri Lankan President. IMA asks Center to reduce cut-off marks for NEET speech. Commission to hold public hearings on Manipur issue. President launches Ayushman Bhav Health Campaign. Inclusion of AU in a G20 summit a right step, says Magvenia. Staying in a Divya reaction. China's Xi meets Maduro says upgrading ties with Venezuela. 6 dead as clashes resume in Lebanon's Palestinian camp. Republican Mitt Romney to retire from US Senate after end of term. Last ditch hunt for survivors of Friday's Morocco earthquake. Russia will help with North Korea's satellite plan. Putin flood death toll in a Libyan city of Darna crosses 5,000 and shipyard in Crimea on fire after attack by Ukraine. Kishida shuffles Japan cabinet party post to solidify power. 56 killed as Hanoi building catches fire. Earth outside its safe operating space for humanity and most key measurements. Government will protect industry from use carbon law. Goel. The CBAM framework involves onerous reporting requirements with import levies to be imposed on carbon and intensive products from 2026. Gadkari says no need to make 6 airbags mandatory in cars. US consumer prices accelerate on petrol. Tesla to source 2 billion in auto parts from Indian firms in 2023. Bombay dying to sell 22 acres in only for 5,200 crore. CCEA clears 5,589 crore FDI in Suven Pharma by Cyprus Palm. Tesla to source 2 billion in auto parts from the Indian firms in 2023. Government assures policy to provide a level playing field for all auto component makers. Release estate papers within 30 days of a loan closure. Dropped tea spice bills need more scrutiny. Deficit monsoon affects coffee production. Economic indicators need to cut inputs call for Petchem Investments, BPCL CMD. Rohit and Kohli complete a 5,000 run partnership in ODIs. Kuldeep is quickest Indian spinner to reach 150 ODI wickets. Bangladesh Muspika to miss Asia Cup match against India. Jaman is in for Naseem in Pakistan squad for the rest of Asia Cup. Sri Lanka Pakistan via spot in Summit clash. Stokes on the rampage smashes 182 of 122 124 balls. Afghanistan names Naveen in a squad for the World Cup. The story behind Rahul's fate hail a return to the team. Ahmad set to make history as he prepares for Moto 3 debut in inaugural Bharat GP. Argentina overcomes the Bolivian challenge. The World Cup champion scores 3 past the host. Marquinhos header in the 90th minute wins it for Brazil against Peru. A goal in each half from Torres helps Ecuador beat Uruguay 2-1. Gill is now second in ODI batters chart. Sheetal to lead women's rugby team at Asian Games. Tanisha Ashwini Fair enters the last 16 of the Hong Kong Open. 17-member second rung team named for Asiad. Bigham bargain coach Fernando not pleased with the under-reporting of Ashik Ankwai. King Louis for the Dennis and Johan Jarvis Memorial Cup. Garbnev joined joined in the lead by Rohit and Ashwath. Spain blanks Cyprus. Italy pips Ukraine. Gob releasing her dreams via bands Bybor and Qatar. The prodigiously talented youngster can shape shift according to what her opponent has to offer. And this was Hanshu in a US Open winning title clash against Sabalenka. Bellingham's remarkable transformation from a magical midfielder to prolific poacher, a tactical masterclass from a Real Madrid's Ancelotti. We have shown him videos of what we liked about him, what he played for Dortmund. What he has changed is that he moves a lot, he does more. Aditya L1 mission pursues the enigma of space weather. To better understand and predict space weather, ISRO launched the Aditya L1 satellite in September 2023. Aditya L1 will observe the sun's energy flow, X-ray radiation, and magnetic storms to generate knowledge of social relevance. The mission vindicates India's investments in space research. Ian Wilmot, a leader of team that cloned Dolly the sheep, dies at 79. Locomotives from a smokestacks to live wires. This is the last two pages, text and context. Petrol pumps shut in Rajasthan due to high VAT on petrol diesel. The alleged illegal foreigners identified in Assam trial till July 31. As an investment approved by cabinet in Suven Pharmaceuticals. The number of elephant corridors identified in India. The death toll from a massive flooding in Eastern Libya 5,300. It's too bad. Analyzing the global stock here take report. What is the status of the pledges and the promises taken by the countries at the Paris Agreement in 2015? What are the 17 key findings of this report published ahead of the G20 meetings? Did the Delhi Declaration acknowledge the findings of the report? What is the battle over the Pluf symbol in Ladakh? Why did the administration of Ladakh refuse to recognize the party symbol of the National Conference? The birth and abrogation of Article 370. The reality of Kashmir's specialty status. As the Supreme Court decides on Jammu and Kashmir's legal issues, three books provided a historical perspective, an understanding of its constitutional guarantees and the aftermath of J&K losing its statehood. This is about the Article 370. September 14 is celebrated in India as Hindu Divas. The 88th schedule of the Constitution lists 22 languages, which includes Hindi, which are these languages. This is the last page, guys. Please read the newspaper for 2 hours to make you better in communication, and really, it will make you fluent in English. So, I hope you guys have enjoyed the newspaper reading. Please subscribe the channel, like, and comment, and see you in the upcoming videos. Have a great day. Bye bye. Take care.